Palestine at the time. Imagine, this is already 1946. The war was over in 1945. It took us about a year to get to those DP camps, so we stayed in the DP camps. In our case, we stayed for 5.5 years in an Austrian DP camp. So what language did I speak in Austria?
Austrian. No, German.
Australian.
German, he's right. He's right, German. So I spoke a perfect German. And there were some schools, there were schools. How much time do we have?
5 more minutes.
Pardon?
5 more minutes.
5 minutes, okay. So I want to go quickly. In the DP camps, of course, there was no, at least we had enough food, we were okay. We didn't worry about that. And we had a place to live. We had a little apartment. And things were looking up. But we all want to go to Israel. We were still there in 1948. And you see, I remember when there was no Israel. None of you were born before 1948 here, right? No, I want that question. But I was already, in 1948, I was 17 years old. So I do remember vividly when Israel was established. It was unbelievable if I told you how happy we were. And of course now we could go to Israel. But my brother went to Israel around that time, 48, and he fought in the war of liberation of Israel. Because he was already a trained soldier. He was in the Polish army and the Russian army. So he fought for the state, but he was in the Irgun Tzvai Leumi. You know the story, Maya, because my brother talked to some of you guys. So you know his story. And he was on the ship Altalena. You know about it? You heard about it? Yes.
And read the book.
Yes. But I won't go into Altalena. I won't go into that part. I just wanted to tell you that my dad, again, decided, because he was very sick now. He died at the age of 66. And he died in America. So he decided to go to America. And I was very mad at him. I was very upset with my father that I couldn't go to Israel. I go to America. But he made the right decision, of course. And as always, and he lived for since 51 to 63, so it's about 12 years. He survived. He had emphysema. He used to smoke a lot, so this is how he was very sick. And I was the sole breadwinner in the family. So we made it to America. The date was April 10th, 1951. And I usually tell folks like this. When I came to America at the age of 20, I was homeless, I was stateless, I was helpless, I was powerless, I was penniless, and I was speechless. To show you what a great country this is, that at the age of 20, I got the opportunity to live in America, to become a citizen 5 years later, to go to school in the evenings because I had to support my parents, so I had to work very hard on a job. But you know what I want to talk to you about is the reason why we not only survived because of my dad, but I also learned something from him, which I know is in my genes, and that is to be, first of all, never to give up, and always be optimistic, and not only optimistic, even cheerful that you're alive. And this is what I learned from my dad and mother, but mostly from Dad. And things will be better. So I usually tell people I'm the eternal optimist. And what is the definition of an optimist? My definition. You heard a definition about the glass being half full and half empty, right? That's not my definition. My definition is when a pessimist, you know what a pessimist, the opposite of an optimist, right? A pessimist says things are so bad, they can't possibly get any worse. I, the optimist, say, oh yes, they can. So that's the kind of an optimist I am. Why? Because of what I went through, you know. When I was 10 years old, imagine what I went through. So we're always optimistic. So although I told you we were helpless and stateless and homeless, but never hopeless. We always had to hope. Yes, things are going to get better, and so on and so on. So we not only survived, but we did more than that. You know, we succeeded. I personally, to this day, feel that I'm living the American dream, and only because I was given the opportunity. You know, and I felt at home in America from the day that I arrived. I said, this is it. This is exactly what I visualized in my life. Someday I will live this kind of a life. I really did. I knew we were going to not only survive, we're going to make it, and we are going to live the American dream. And I am living that dream. But I want to mention something else that just came to you while I was preparing for this talk. Every 10 years, something profound, something dramatic happens to me. Every 10 years, every decade. So, okay, I was born in 1931. So a decade later was 1941. What happened in 41? We escaped. And we survived 1941. Now came 1951. So what happened to me 10 years later? America came to America 10 years later. Now came 1961. By the way, I have 8, not times 10, because guess what? I'm going to be 80 in April. Remember, I was born 31. This is 2011. Those good math. 80 years old, right? So now we are in 1961. So what happens to me?
Married.
Huh? Get married. Did anybody guess that? 1961. And now they come to 71. Guess what happened in 71?
You had a child.
What?
The book.
Israel.
You wrote a book.
Who said that? School.
Ari said that.
1971. I had something to do with trying to establish the school. 1971. Big year. You know how difficult it was? Do you realize how fortunate you are? Jewish kids, and really, I get very emotional about that. Free, you can learn, you can be Jewish, you can be good Americans, you can be good Zionists, and you live in America, such a free, wonderful country. You can travel to Israel. The 8th graders are going to Israel? Show your hands. How many are going? Hey, that's a big group going. The principal is going with them? Yeah. You don't know how lucky I have a principal like that. I happen to know because I visited many day schools. You have no idea what a good principal you have.
Actually, they do. We all do.
We have good teachers too. There's one right there that I happen to know for a long time. How many years have you been?
This is my 28th year.
28 years. Did I hire you?
No, Dr. Stern did.
Ah, okay. But I was the president at the time.
That's right, you were.
You know how long Mr. Hasten was the president of this school? How many years? 25, 26 years, I guess.
What happened? 81.
Oh, 81. Hey, good. Well, of course, I told. There's one thing I didn't mention about my dad, but I want to give him credit some more. He was a very proud Jew.